Facebook. Follow us on Twitter for new alerts, Instagram for videos and images, and the website for the latest news, views, and analysis. WIONews.com. World is one.
Gravitas tells you stories which others won't. And tonight we will tell you about this new strategic map that is being drawn.
They say your enemy's enemy is your friend. Is that the foundation of the new defense bridge between India and America?
This is what separates us from others who claim to be telling you global stories that matter. In the last 3 days, WION has been traveling across Syria. You are in Latakia city right now. Tell us, what is the situation on ground? At Gravitas, we don't just tell you stories from selected countries from around the world.
2 years since the Myanmar military coup, the people of Myanmar continue to live in a nightmare.
Because it does not suit their propaganda, or because they are too scared to speak truth to power.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
Hello, welcome to WION World is One, broadcasting live from London this hour. You're with me, Katie Pilbeam. Let's get to the headlines. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be leading the World Yoga Day session at the UN Secretariat in New York on June 21st. He will be kicking off his first bilateral visit to the US with this event. Authorities in India's capital, New Delhi, will start impounding bike taxes of companies such as Uber and local rival Ola if they do not cease operations in line with a court order backing their ban. Indian authorities had argued in court that bike taxes violate local city laws. UK unemployment eases in the 3 months ending April. The unemployment rate decreased to 3.8% from 3.9% in March. This is according to data from the Office for National Statistics. But the struggle continues as wage rises continue to lag inflation. Japan's lower house approves proposed legislation aimed at promoting understanding of LGBTQ issues, but campaigners criticise the bill for its watered-down language. Manchester City celebrate their treble triumph with an open bus victory parade through the streets of Manchester. Even a storm could not stop Pep Guardiola and company to show off their trophies to fans.
For the management team and the manager, pathetic players! Come on! For the management team.
A warm welcome to the programme. Tensions between the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and former Prime Minister Boris Johnson are at boiling point. Well, the face-off around the resignations honours list, a tradition that gives the outgoing Prime Ministers in the UK the opportunity to nominate people for honours. Well, it's virtually come down to name-calling now and slanging matches. On the one hand, the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak refuses to overrule the panel that is vetting recommendations. He has also added that he has no sympathy for those who do not like his decision, stressing that he is not willing to block any recommendations of the Commission. Well, to this, Johnson turns around and says Sunak is, and I'm quoting here, talking rubbish. What followed after this was a series of media reports with various claims from both sides. Well, according to The Times, for instance, Johnson, he pressured Sunak to help his father secure a knighthood. The report claims earlier this month in Sunak's Commons office that Johnson argued that it is customary for honours to recognise the family members of former prime ministers. Well, Johnson is not quite wrong here. Theresa May's husband was given a knighthood. John Major's wife was also given a damehood for her charity work. Boris Johnson's controversial honours list has long been criticised by MPs. Some have even hit out at the whole system of the honours. In the UK, an outgoing PM can nominate people for lifetime seats in the UK's upper house of Parliament, the House of Lords. This also includes knighthoods as well. Well, another report by The Times focused on Johnson's Privileges Committee findings. It claimed the PMs have concluded that Johnson deliberately misled Parliament over the Downing Street parties. Johnson claimed that he was advised by senior civil officials that all the rules are being followed in these gatherings. However, the Privileges Committee has concluded that officials did not advise Johnson on any social distancing guidelines. Well, Johnson has already been given an advance copy of the report, and it's believed he may have resigned as a member of Parliament after finding out about these findings of the committee. However, despite the mutiny, against Johnson over his lockdown gatherings and the controversial honours list, the former Prime Minister still holds a core support among the Conservative voters in the UK. Many still believe he is a victim of internal politics and can only be rescued by the Conservative Party. He is the only person, they believe, who can rescue the already struggling Conservative Party, I should say. Right, a lot to unpack here. Nicholas Nugent is joining us now, senior journalist and former BBC editor. Gosh, it's quite the war of words now, isn't it?
It is indeed, yes. You catch me smiling because there's such a mess going on. But unlike on other occasions, this mess is within the ruling Conservative Party. It's the party pulling itself apart according to whether they support the previous Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, or the previous but one, I should say, Boris Johnson, or Rishi Sunak, the current Prime Minister. And there's a lot going on there. I mean, as reported, quoting the Times, as reported yesterday, Rishi Sunak denies that he blocked the appointment of various nominees of Boris Johnson. But there's an unanswered question here, because we know why 3 were blocked, for peerages this is. That's because they were sitting members of the House of Commons, and you can't belong to both houses simultaneously. You have to be one or the other. But we're told that 8 nominations were in fact blocked, and we don't know who the other 5 were, and we don't know why they were blocked, and we don't know who blocked them. Were they all blocked by this commission, or did the Prime Minister's office have some role in blocking them? And that's the peerages. When we look at other appointments, other honours, including knighthoods, in other words, becoming a sir or a dame, who blocked the appointment of Boris Johnson's father as Sir Stanley Johnson it would have been? Because as far as I know, there is no scrutiny committee that looks at knighthoods. So was that the Prime Minister's office or not? Rishi Sunak hasn't denied that, but equally he hasn't been accused of that. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And as you've said, tomorrow we expect to hear the Privileges Committee ruling on Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson accused of the serious offence of misleading the House over the Partygate scandal that was. And that, if you're a sitting MP, is quite a serious charge, because it could lead to your being barred from Parliament. It could lead to you facing a by-election, re-election. But of course, Boris Johnson preempted that by resigning from the House of Commons last week. So that's not going to happen. But it'll still, the indications we're getting is it'll still be a very strong indictment of the former Prime Minister. We're in a very unusual situation. We have 4 Conservative Prime Ministers or former Prime Ministers sitting in the House of Commons. At least we did until Boris Johnson resigned. We've still got Theresa May there and Liz Truss there. So, gosh, what a mess it all seems to be. I think the only positive thing I could say is that Rishi Sunak seems to have a lot of support, both within the party and indeed the country at large, and appears to be doing a good job. That's the judgment of people. And, when he told a meeting yesterday that he could not bow to Boris Johnson's pressure to resubmit the names to the House of Commons appointments, House of Lords Appointments Commission, there was clapping amongst the audience. And that in itself showed that he was respected for the integrity he seemed to be exhibiting there. I mean, why should the mates of Boris Johnson be given seats in the House of Lords? It's a very old-fashioned system that one man can appoint his loyalists to the upper house of Parliament. You have a much better system going on in India. Why do we have sort of personal predilection as one of the requirements, the requirement for a seat in the House of Lords? And another one is donations. If you donate to the ruling party, you stand a chance of getting appointed to the House of Lords. It's a nonsense. It really is a democratic nonsense and should have been got rid of years ago.
Nicholas, we'll leave it there. You've made your point very, very clear. And of course, we've got Liz Truss's list coming up at some point. That will be interesting. Thank you so much. That's Nicholas Nugent there, senior journalist and former BBC editor here on WION Today, live from London. The threat of strike still looms over the UK's National Health Service, the NHS, while junior doctors in England are set to stage 3 days of strikes this week, and experts predict almost all routine NHS services in England will get disrupted as a result. Well, thousands of junior doctors are due to stage a 72-hour walkout from Wednesday. In April, when the junior doctors conducted a 4-day strike, about 27 1,000 junior doctors stayed off work every day, and more than 190,000 outpatient appointments and operations were postponed. Well, they are demanding a 35% salary rise. Health Secretary Steve Barclay says their claim is unreasonable. The Junior Doctors Committee of British Medical Association is expected to hold balance for further strike action. The union plans to stage a 3-day stoppage every month. Well, for long, NHS has been dealing with industrial action by nurses, ambulance staff and junior doctors. Across the NHS, more than 542,000 consultations and surgical procedures have been rescheduled. For more on this, Alex Izad is joining us live from London. Alex, here we go again.
You're not wrong. Yes, from tomorrow we will be seeing this 72-hour walkout by junior doctors. Now, we keep hearing that it's going to be disastrous and there's going to be real problems tomorrow and ongoing with regards to these junior doctors' walkout. And Steve Powers, who has been the union head, has been saying that this is a real issue that needs to be resolved. But let's face facts. This is a bit of a scare tactic as well. They want a 35% pay increase, and even from the beginning, which is now nearly 8 months previous, Health Secretary Steve Barclay says that is unobtainable, and unfortunately the unions won't come to the table and negotiate. So there really is this sticking place here with regards to money. But when it comes to operations and pushing back and people who just want to get into the hospitals and get some of their routine operations done. Now, this problem is not new, and this is not because of strikes. There has been this huge backlog from before even COVID times. COVID obviously put a huge pressure on the NHS, and it does seem to be cracking under the weight of people continually waiting, and then another strike happens. But it's not fair to blame those that are striking, because, as I said, this has been a long time coming. A lot of people who wanted to get those operations, they've been scheduled. They're saying they're not as important, they're not emergencies, and they keep being pushed back and pushed back. And we constantly hear from people who are on waiting lists for over 3 years. Now, we did hear last year that there was a reduction in the 2-year waiting list, but those who are waiting longer or even 2 years is just not really very fair if you're wanting to have that operation, whether or not the NHS deems it an emergency. So this 3-day strike, we were out on the protest a few months ago, really, with the junior doctors, and we saw there wasn't that many of them actually protesting, because it is in their contract that if the hospital does say that they are needed, that they will go to work. And many of the junior doctors have told me that they don't want to be on the picket lines, they don't want to be striking, they want to help and move forward. And both the Health Secretary, the government and the unions need to come to the table to start these negotiations moving, because the ones that are missing out are not the junior doctors themselves, but are the patients, the people of the UK, and they're the ones that continuously keep missing out, and the NHS is not reaching the targets, and it's not unfair to blame those that are on strike.
Yeah, quite right. Those poor patients that are waiting for those operations. I feel terribly sorry for those people. And obviously there's sympathy for those people striking as well. It's a difficult one. And thank you so much indeed. That's Alex Izad there talking about junior doctors in England set to stage a 3-day strike this week. Okay, moving on to our next story today. The new United Nations report shed light on the UK's exports. Now, it shows that the UK has endured the worst exports record among the G7 nations, besides Japan. So according to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UK goods and services exports had a value of £813 billion in 2012, and it only rose by just 6% to £862 billion in 2021. Now, this is way lower from the double-digit increases that we've got coming from Canada, France, Germany, Italy, and the United States. Now, apart from the UK, only Japan has recorded worse results than the UK, and its value of trade rose by just 0.5%. Now, the main reason lies in demand from China on cars, car parts and steel, as China is aiming to become self-sufficient. Well, the latest figures again drags on the question of relevance of the UK post-Brexit. Trade and cooperation agreement between the UK and EU is also set for review in 2024. The opposition Labour Party accused the Tory government of these low figures. They're blaming them, while adding that the low exports is a direct result of the extra burdens on businesses exporting into Europe now, as Europe still remains the UK's largest and biggest market. Okay, let's get some entertainment news for you now. In an exclusive chat with WION's Sarapita Das, Emmy-winning star Jharrel Jerome talked about his upcoming project with Boots Riley, I'm a Virgo. Well, the Spider-Man actor also expressed his full solidarity with the ongoing writers' strike in Hollywood.
The world is not ready yet.
I have to get out of here.
I think Cootie's he's fun because he's not one-dimensional. He has a lot of different qualities that keep jumping around. I think he's someone who's very smart and intelligent, and he knows a lot, but he doesn't know it all. So when he goes outside for the first time, there's a lot of moments that are very new to him. So playing scenes where everything felt new and everything felt different, that was fun to try to tap into that young spirit and that naive energy. Well, Boots actually emailed me personally with the script, and the title of the script said 13-foot-tall black man in Oakland. And I think once you read that, you're very intrigued and curious as to what he means. So once I saw that, we took a meeting a week later, and he painted the vision for me, and he told me how he wanted to execute it. And it just excited me because I knew it would be a challenge and something very important and different. I mean, incredibly relatable. I think Cootie is a lot like all of us, where sometimes we feel different. We feel like we don't fit in. We feel like we're not welcomed, or something about us is too weird. But Cootie takes that all with pride, and he loves who he is, and he loves himself, and he's confident that he knows what he needs and who he is. And so seeing somebody who is always deemed as different but believes that he is who he is, I think is just very inspiring, and I relate to that in a lot of ways in my own life. The best part about being in Hollywood right now, the weather's nice. No, I'm kidding. I think it's really amazing to be part of projects that push the grain and open up conversations that are different. And I think Hollywood is doing a cool job right now at introducing projects that are opening up conversations that we don't ever speak about, from different perspectives and different cultures. I'm in full support of the Hollywood writer's strike. I think that there's a lot of change that needs to happen on the back end of projects, and a lot of fairness that needs to be allowed, because writers are the crutch of everything we see, and there would be no film, no show without there being the script and the dialogue. So I'm in full support of the movement and all the work that needs to be done to allow for change to happen.
Okay, let's talk about sport now. Manchester City continued their treble party with an open top bus parade. Thunder, lightning and torrential rain did not stop the European champions from celebrating their triumph with their fans. City completed the treble on Saturday by beating Inter Milan in the Champions League final. Pep Guardiola's side returned to Manchester on Sunday, and a day later they took the party to the streets. Well, thousands of fans revelled in their glory despite heavy rain in Manchester, but flares were set off. Blue flares and cracks of lightning as well illuminated the grey sky. Along with the Champions League, City players also showed off the Premier League and the FA Cup trophies as well. Well, they are only the second English team in history to win the coveted treble after neighbours Manchester United did so in 1999. Well, City were once firmly in United's shadow. Now they're not just the best team in the world, but in the country and the world. Thank you so very much indeed for watching. I'm Katie Pilbeam. We are broadcasting from London. Back to the international decks shortly for you. Goodbye.
Gravitas tells you stories which others won't. And tonight we will tell you about this new strategic map that is being drawn.
They say your